Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that's at the very core of how great products get built. See, it's not just about what you build, it's about how your entire organization is set up to build it in the first place. So many product teams, and hey, maybe this is you, start their planning right here with this question. It seems so logical, right? It's straightforward, it's about action. It's probably the most common starting point there is. But what if that's the wrong question to start with? The truly innovative companies, the sharpest product leaders out there, they start from a completely different place, a more fundamental one that ends up shaping everything else that follows. And there it is. This question, it completely changes the game. It shifts the entire focus from a single tactical decision about a feature to the whole system that produces those decisions. This, right here, is the soul of a product operating model. Okay, so let's define this properly. A product operating model is way more than just an org chart on a slide. You've got to think of it as the engine of your entire product organization. It's the system that dictates how teams are built, how key decisions are actually made, and how a big picture vision gets turned into a real thing that customers can use. So let's start with the model that is by far the most common, and maybe the most frustrating. It's called the feature factory, and something tells me you might just recognize it. Okay, be honest. As you look at this list, does any of it feel a little familiar? Is your team's main job just to take a list of requests and ship them out the door? Is success all about how many features you launched this quarter? If you feel like you never, ever have time to stop and ask why, then you are probably living in a feature factory. Now look, it's not all bad. Feature factories can be incredibly efficient at just producing stuff. The instructions are clear, it's pretty easy to manage from the top down, and you can definitely ship things fast. But the trade-off, the price you pay for that speed, is enormous. You get no real learning, creativity gets crushed, and the team just becomes this machine that churns through a backlog without ever looking up. So, if the feature factory is the starting point for so many, where do you go from there? Well, let's look at this as a kind of evolutionary journey, moving through three very different operating models. This table gives us a fantastic bird's eye view. Just look at this shift in the focus column. You go from pure output in the feature factory to autonomy and alignment in the squad model, and then finally to being completely outcome-driven with empowered teams. And you can see each step up gives you new strengths, but it also brings new risks you've got to manage. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because you can see the evolution across these key areas. Notice how the work style itself changes from just delivery only to this deep blend of strategy and discovery. You can see the move from a structure with some shared ownership to a full-on philosophy of autonomy. And maybe most importantly, look at the impact. It goes from just short-term value to something truly transformative. And that really gets to the heart of it. This is the goal, the ideal state we're all trying to get to. Empowered teams aren't just a pair of hands hired to code a specific feature list. No, they're a team of smart, creative people who are given a tough customer problem and the freedom to figure out the best way to solve it. Okay, I know this might all sound a bit theoretical, maybe a little idealistic, but some of the most successful companies on the planet operate this way. So let's see what this empowerment thing actually looks like in the wild, with a quick peek at Spotify and Amazon. Everyone's heard about Spotify's model of squads, tribes, and chapters. But here's the thing people often miss. The squad model is just the structure. It's not the magic itself. The real secret sauce is the underlying philosophy of empowerment, and it's all fueled by an insane focus on alignment. Every single squad has a crystal clear mission, but they have total autonomy to decide how they're going to achieve it. This frees up leaders to be coaches, not commanders. And then you've got Amazon with their legendary two-pizza teams. You have to think of each of these small teams as a tiny startup living inside the bigger company. They have absolute ownership over a specific customer problem, they have the freedom to experiment like crazy, and they are held accountable by cold, hard data. That's empowerment in its purest form. All right, so seeing how Amazon and Spotify pull this off is pretty inspiring. But how can you, in the real world, start moving your own team down this path? Let's get practical. The whole transformation has to start with the leadership. And the single biggest shift a leader has to make is this: stop managing individual tasks and start shaping the system. Your job is to create the environment where an empowered team can actually do its best work. So, what does that really mean? It means your job is to set a clear, compelling vision. You need to define the problem areas for teams to own. You have to build fast, effective feedback loops and consciously shift your own style from commanding to coaching. And maybe the hardest part, you have to start measuring what actually matters, the business outcomes, not just the number of features you shipped. And look, this is not an overnight change. You don't just flip a switch. It's a gradual transformation, and it happens in phases. It can start really small, like just carving out a little time each week for real customer discovery. From there, you can build your first cross-functional squads, give them clear missions, and then slowly introduce the autonomy and the metrics that lead to real problem-solving empowerment.
Now, this chart illustrates a point that is absolutely crucial. As your model evolves, your definition of success must evolve with it. A feature factory cares about speed. A squad model cares about velocity and alignment. But a truly empowered team, they are measured on real-world business outcomes, things like customer retention and growth. You simply cannot manage an empowered team with feature factory metrics. It just doesn't work.
So, let's wrap this up with the key things to remember. Your operating model is the bridge that turns your big strategy into day-to-day reality. Squads are fantastic for scaling, but they will fall apart without strong alignment. The end goal is to have empowered teams solving real customer problems. And to get there, leadership has to make that fundamental shift from control to enablement. Because in the end, when you strip everything else away, it all comes down to one simple, powerful truth about what separates good teams from truly great ones. They don't just deliver features. They deliver outcomes. That's the whole game. That is the destination at the end of this journey from feature factory to empowerment. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.